By show of hands, how many of you have seen the Netflix miniseries called Midnight Mass? Thank you. There's like 3 people who have. The previous Mass, no one did. These are my horror fans, my true people. You're the reason I'm at Annunciation. For those of you who haven't, it's been out for a couple years, so I'm going to spoil the entire miniseries, so sorry. But the miniseries details the life of a Catholic priest who is serving in a small island town. And amazing things start happening in his ministry. Now he goes away, he's very old, he goes away on this mysterious trip that you don't know, and in the first episode he's actually coming back from it, so the trip's already happened. But he comes back and he's miraculously 40 years younger. And these amazing things start happening in his parish. Those who are paralyzed start walking, healing start occurring, these miracles are taking place. And because of that, there's this gigantic sense of revival, spiritually, but also even hope, economically, because it's a very depressed town and everybody just looks tired. They look like they're waiting for God's blessing. And it feels like it's finally come. And those who have hung in there, who didn't leave the small town and everything, they were right. They were right to do so because God has shined on them. But not really. And what happens is very slowly over the 7 episodes, more and more information starts to come to light. First thing is that, yes, this actually is a supernatural event. That was the first thing, is it real, is it not? But then you realize it's not coming from God. And you start to learn that this suddenly young priest had actually made a pact with a vampire-like demon who promised to deliver what God had failed to provide, which is everything that they had been waiting for in putting their faith in God, praying week after week in the church. A kind of fullness of life that they used to have when they were young and vibrant. A kind of power that made their mark on the map. And the priest felt that he could, if he took this, he could finally make other people happy and prove that their faith was not in vain. But is that, even that, the real reason all of this begins to take place? Because it sounds like it's one of those ends justifies the means situations, and so obviously it's very problematic. But then as the episodes begin to tick by, you realize, no, there's something else happening here. And what you find at the end is that that's not the reason this is happening. This is happening, and he makes the pact with this demon because this priest has violated his chastity. He fell in love with a woman, had a child with her, and he wanted to live with her in his youth forever. And he found the way for this to happen. And so what's taking place in this miniseries is that somewhere along the way, this priest, in his heart, loves something, or more specifically, someone, more than Jesus Christ, whom he gave his life to on the day of his ordination. And that small shift in the heart, that little adjustment of the needle, as a consequence, unleashed hell across an entire town. So what does that begin to look like? The priest is leading the people into idolatry because he's replacing the blood of Christ with the blood of this vampire-like demon, hence the source of their powers as they're beginning to heal and take shape. Worshippers start taking on vampire-like traits. They have an aversion to the sun. They start getting hungry, which starts putting other people in danger. Families are torn apart because some people don't really trust this priest. They're a little confused. People then ultimately become divided. Violence erupts in the town, and every house and business is burned entirely to the ground. And then by the last episode, everybody dies, except for 2 people. I can't believe you're not interested in this show. It's fascinating. But in all of this lies the writer, his name's Mike Flanagan, his genius. He's a pure genius in this script. Because what he does, I don't even know if he knows he's doing this. What he does is he captures the social aspect of the spiritual life that we as Americans tend to so privatize. He shows there's nothing private about it. When we rise together, and when we fall, we take others with us. And so here is a story of one man's infidelity that has destroyed the lives of hundreds of people. And yet we see this pattern again and again and again. It's even in the Bible. If you look at Revelation chapter 12, it describes the devil and his fall, and it makes this really profound comment. The book of Revelation says that when the serpent fell, his, quote, tail swept a third of the stars from the skies. Now, in apocalyptic literature in the Bible, so the book of Revelation would be apocalyptic literature, stars are images for angels. So when this one angel, Lucifer, the highest of them all, chooses to rebel against God, in his fall, he's able to sweep a third of the angels and take them with him, which is no small thing. But we experience this pattern even in our own lives, in big and in small ways. So just to make the point, when parents ignore the precepts for Mass and they fill their calendar with other activities, they bring their children with them into sin. And they teach their children that disobeying the commandments of God is okay. Let's flip that. When children ignore God's plan for marriage and choose to cohabitate or marry outside of the church, they compel their parents, their friends, and their family under enormous pressure to join them in their evil, to participate even in their discomfort at the expense, or at the risk, I should say, of otherwise losing their relationship with the person they love. I've had this myself, several occasions, but one in particular. One of the cousins that I was closest to growing up, in her adult life decided to identify as a man, and she pursued a wedding with her girlfriend. And knowing that I was a seminarian and my beliefs might conflict with this, she asked me, hey, listen, I know we've always had this really sweet cousin connection. I'd really like you to be there at my wedding and celebrate my big day. Will you come? And I knew the risks, right? The stakes are high. And I told her, no, I can't. And she has never talked to me since. And she has entirely cut me off, which is why I'm the only one who said no. And everybody else went. And so when she fell, her tail swept a whole lot of people and took them with her. And so what we derive from this is that grace has a social quality to it. And this is why when Jesus says in the gospel, whoever loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me, and whoever loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me, it's not actually as cruel as it might sound. It sounds very harsh. Like, Lord, why would you put me in contest and therefore jeopardize the most intimate relationships I have in my life? He's doing that because he loves us, because he knows the stakes. He knows our situation, that grace has a social quality to it. So if we do not resolve in our hearts to love Jesus Christ above everyone and everything, then we risk being caught in somebody else's fall. And we risk causing the fall of other people. Now, here's the good news, and this is the great part about it. It also works in the opposite direction. Our fidelity to God, our communion with Jesus Christ, has incredible benefits to the whole. So you'll notice after Jesus gives this warning about loving other people instead of him, he follows it with, whoever receives a prophet because he is a prophet will receive a prophet's reward. And we see this taking place, so this is the positive side in the first reading. Here's this woman, right? She knows Elisha is a prophet. She can't do much for him. She can't do his mission for him. That's his job. But she can at least offer him a bed. So she creates a loft, so whenever he's in town cleaning up, he has somewhere to sleep at night. And as a result of this exercise of love for God, what happens? Well, Elisha gets a bed, so that's huge. She gets a son, so now she and her husband are blessed. A person comes into existence that wasn't going to exist before. And then all the people that son gives life to throughout. So this whole family lineage, because she gave somebody a bed. right? Think of the social ramifications of her small exercise of love for God through this prophet. What does that mean for us? Well, you being here, your prayers united with the church around the world, you lifting the sacrifice of the Eucharist to the Father for the intention of this Mass and your own personal intentions, I can at least say is way more valuable than offering a cot. So I can only begin to imagine the incredible things God is going to do as a result of this gesture of love. Therefore, I would say this: love Jesus Christ above all else, and the net of your goodness will reach countless, especially in a world that is oversaturated with tales eager to sweep others from the sky.